Jessica Short and this is Just Causes. We're a program about advocates, activists and campaigners committed to positive change. Yesterday it was a mining problem. Now it's an issue for all Australians and it's set to claim another 45,000 lives over the next decade. It's called asbestos, and there's one courageous Perth couple fighting for victims and taking on this silent killer.
Whatever it takes, that's what I do. There is no such thing that I won't do for any of my members.
The average survival for mesothelioma is about 12 months with current treatment. Some patients only survive 3 or 4 months.
Well, there's always a person or a family left behind to look after, and they need a lot of care.
Asbestos is estimated to have had more than 3,000 uses. It was once one of Australia's most used building products, now one of Australia's worst killers.
Even if we remove all asbestos with a magic wand today, there'd be still 45,000 people die.
Robert Vojakovic is the president of the Asbestos Diseases Society of Australia. He started the organisation with his wife Rosemary in the late 1970s.
Initially I started because I thought that I'd be able to save life. That was about late 70s, when a lot of people become seriously disabled from mesothelioma and lung cancer, particularly those which were employed at Whitnam mining industry.
To begin with, Robert chased funding for medical research, but a chance encounter with a state MP signalled the way for a more powerful course of action.
She said it wouldn't matter if 100 people die on corner St George's Terrace and William Street. You only got to possibly get a tiny little article in the paper on about the 5th page. But if they only get a $10,000 in compensation, you're going to get the front page for several days.
For Robert, the danger hits close to home. He was one of 20,000 migrant workers, mostly Italian and Croatian, employed at Whitnam in the 50s and 60s.
I've considered myself being in the same boat. We're all victims of asbestos, and it's like drawing a card out of a pack.
I don't know why I got it. It's damn annoying, to tell you the truth.
Peggy Clark is a mother of 7 and grandmother and great-grandmother to almost 70. Peggy has mesothelioma. But what makes Peggy unique is she's been living with the disease for 5.5 years.
We used to pull down houses and rebuild them again, and that was the type of thing you did. If you had an old house, when we shifted, we took our house with us, asbestos.
Like thousands of others helped by the Society, Peggy sought compensation from building company James Hardie.
I'm not mad at James Hardie. I'm annoyed with them for the fact I wouldn't like to think that I'd exposed the children to it.
With asbestos present in 1 in 3 homes built before 1982, today's renovators are facing the same risk as Peggy did in her day.
There seems to be a general impression that their problem's gone away, but it hasn't. They're in danger from not knowing how to identify asbestos.
Rosemary Vojakovic handles counselling at the Society. She knows how devastating mesothelioma can be, and she's concerned many young Australians will become the next wave of asbestos victims.
When people first come, they are deeply shocked. They're often very frightened, and they are desperately seeking answers. If you're listening to what they say, you can actually respond to their fears. They just simply come and say, well, I can't even say the word. I've got a mesothelioma, but I can't say the word. What does it mean?
Mesothelioma is a cancer arising from the pleura. The cancer is caused by the asbestos damaging the cells, and it grows and surrounds the lung, sort of crushing the lung and then invading the tissues next to it.
Professor Bruce Robinson heads the National Centre for Asbestos-Related Diseases. He's also concerned for Australia's generation of young DIY renovators.
It has been proven that home renovations done carelessly can increase people's risk of mesothelioma. You just cannot underestimate the depth of sadness and tragedy around asbestos, Whitnam, and it makes me realise even more how wonderful it is that people like the Asbestos Diseases Society and other people have, I guess, gathered around to support them.
With the number of asbestos victims set to soar, the Vojakoviches are going to have a fight on their hands, but they wouldn't have it any other way.
You work for CSR.
I do what I do because I'm here today and I may not be here tomorrow, and I would like to make a difference.
Even small drip of water can really erode over a period of the time huge rock. And exactly what we are now. We sort of made a bit of inroad into the rock of injustice.
With me are Robert Vojakovich from the Asbestos Diseases Society of Australia and Environmental Health Officer Alan Mahala from the City of Canning. Welcome to Just Causes.
Thank you.
So Robert, we have our first question for you. Why is the death toll still rising so long after Whitnam?
Well, even before Whitnam, we had exposure to asbestos. I believe that over 10 million people were exposed for the past 60 years, sufficiently to develop asbestos diseases. And medical research is not kept up the pace, to save those people who had exposure to asbestos.
Okay. So why do you think, Alan, that home renovators are still being exposed or risking the exposure to asbestos?
Many people are unaware of the dangers or even unaware of the fact that there is asbestos within their own home, and some people simply have that attitude that it won't happen to me.
Okay, so who needs to step in here then and do something about this? What
Well,
should they be doing?
Our regulatory authorities obviously got a lot to answer why is very little done about home regulators and other people which previously did some amendments to the houses, rearranging living standards, because very little, notwithstanding regulations were available, the people had insufficient advice given from the people who ought to be given advice, like the Department of Health.
Okay, so regulations, is that all they need to work on, or is there other aspects that they should be focusing on?
Well, regulations are sufficient for that to tell you that asbestos is dangerous and how you're supposed to be dealing it,
Okay. Is it not important to get it out there to the community?
It is.
Okay, so should they be working on awareness as well?
Yes, awareness, and follow up, at least once a year to give people adequate information. Maybe local authorities should do it with the Shire notices to tell them all about asbestos risk. That would be useful.
Okay, and if someone has already been exposed, what can they do?
The best thing they could do is to go to the doctor initially and tell them, look, I had exposure to asbestos today. And then doc will see to the age of the person, the severity of exposure, and accordingly give them advice, where they have an x-ray and what further steps you need to take, to feel comfortable about that exposure.
Alright. So is there any way that home renovators can identify asbestos before getting into their project?
It's very difficult to identify it exactly by yourself. You can call in an expert. Some builders are experts. Councils can help you with that, and ultimately the main way to do it is to send the product off for an analysis. Normally if a person asks an environmental health officer, they will look at the product and make a determination. If they believe it's asbestos, they'll say so. If they're not sure, they will still treat it as asbestos.
So you would recommend people in older homes, if they're considering renovations, to get someone in?
Definitely.
Excellent. Okay, and Robert, do you think that the Australian community takes the problem of asbestos serious enough?
They do, but they're being let down, by a lot of regulating authorities because they're not taking it seriously. For example, if the wrongdoers do something wrong, they're not being prosecuted, they're just being ignored. And therefore, community is getting wrong messages. On one hand, I'm telling them, look, it's all dangerous and risk, and then local authority said, well, look, we're just going to ignore it this time. They cannot prosecute the person who actually breaks the law.
Okay, so but they know it's dangerous, but are they aware that it's everywhere?
Most of them are, and I believe there wouldn't be a household who doesn't know that asbestos is a risk in Australia today. But however, what they know that they can get away with it, break it, renovate, and nobody will prosecute them.
All right. Well, Alan and Robert, thank you so much for being on Just Causes.
Here's a question. Would you win the Nobel Prize if you could end Indigenous disadvantage? What if you were able to encourage young Aboriginal kids in remote communities to stay longer in school? Let's meet Lockie Cook, a talented young man with big ideas whose Indigenous Communities Education Appeal, or ICEA, is delivering amazing results. For Just Causes, I'm Jessica Short.
The thing that inspired me the most would have to be Lockie.
I was like, wow, you know, this guy's not even Aboriginal and look at all the work he's doing.
My name is Lachlan Frank Cook and my skin name is Binjari from the Bardi people up north from the Kimberley. I'm 21 years old and I am the founder of the ICEA Foundation. Going through school, I always had an interest about going up to remote parts of WA and learning some of the Indigenous culture. And then I was fortunate enough to, in Year 11, given an opportunity to be part of Gandal's men's leadership camp up in the Kimberley. And at that camp I was learnt, developed and made great friends. In these communities, we just, you know, it's such a stark contrast to me being fortunate enough to be in a school in regional Australia where there, you know, is an abundance of opportunities and educational resources. In these remote communities at the time, there was, you know, I didn't have a library, didn't have any sport equipment to play with. Good. You're a natural, eh? All the funds that we get for ICEA go towards the funding of this incentive program. If the kids reach 85% attendance for the term, we give them an incentive. That incentive may be a book, a sporting equipment, a toy, and that incentive program has been a massive success for us. Less than 60% of the kids were reaching 85% attendance, and now, you know, greater than 75% of the kids are reaching 85% attendance.
My name's Ezra Jacob Smith. I'm a Wadjuk Noongar from Perth. I've known Lockie for about 2 years now. Lockie is definitely probably one of the most genuine guys I've met. My involvement with ICEA developed quite a bit over the last couple of years. Sort of started off just me coming down and offering support.
Mentoring within ICEA is so crucial.
Thank you, Carl. I just wanted to...
Right now I'm mentoring this kid who's at Scotch, who's in Year 10.
Lockie's been a great help during this. He's kind of always pushed to make this event as great and as big as possible. When I heard about the ICEA Foundation that he made, it kind of inspired me to do this fun run for my school personal project.
It is so important to have that person there as a mentor, and it's been awesome for me, but also I think for him as well. You're seeing his confidence he's developing.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
I don't know how he, you know, finds the time to do everything that he does in one day.
Last year I was in the Australian under-23 kayaking team. Standard day is waking up at 4:30, driving to Bayswater, getting on the water at 5:30. And given what the session is, it can vary from being in 45 minutes to 2.5 hours. I have breakfast in my car, on my way to meetings, being in the city or the office. And then come the afternoon around 4:35, I'll have my second session, my training session. And that'll go for about at least an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. My next goal is to compete for Australia in the senior team and hopefully in the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro.
Anything he does isn't going to surprise me because he's just so capable of doing things. He's so modest about it, you know, you can barely even, it's hard to get him to talk about it, I suppose, but yeah, it's amazing.
Through my work with ICEA and the youth work I've done with ICEA, I've been very fortunate. I've been given these opportunities to be part of the Commonwealth Youth Forum, the UN, Child's Rights Convention. But, you know, I guess the biggest thing for me is just the opportunity to, you know, become aware and create an understanding, just this respect I have for the Indigenous people, for the way they looked after this land. Our purpose now with ICEA is reconciliation. And we see reconciliation as being mutual respect for all Australians.
1, 2, 3! Reconciliation!
We've got the Marja Mob, who are kids in years 10, 11 and 12 at school. So the Marja Mob is Bardi language for leader or boss man in the community. And they organise their events in their school, raising Indigenous awareness and appreciation and these reconciliation ideas we're talking about. It's kind of cool just being able to facilitate an opportunity for all these kids to break down barriers. And we've got 2 more. Who wants to go next?
There's a lot of programs that have the right idea, you know, they want to help out kids, and I think the reason ICEA succeeds so much is because, you know, right from the very top, the person driving the whole movement is, you know, the person who is the most passionate.
it's been the most amazing thing for me personally, and I feel that, you know, the joy that I've got out of this process, I'm trying to give that joy to as many people in the community as I can, to inspire them to have this respect for one another. I think this reconciliation idea is what I'm here for, and I think ICEA is a big stepping stone for that. As an elder tells me from Elcho Islands up in the Northern Territory, if we spread this message to all parts of Australia, all the small communities, with building up lots of little fires all around, all of a sudden you look from space and Australia's just glowing with this, and we're united. All these little fires become one big fire and we're united.